Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the game episode of Read Play Game, where we will be discussing Troika, both as a game and our specific arc that we just played. This is Emma speaking, and I GM'd this game, and I'm getting chased out of the town with pitchforks and torches.
In the front of the pack, leading this mob, is me, Anish, and I played Troika.
Running shortly behind, only because I'm not very well versed in cardio, is me, Tori, because I also played in this arc.
Walking in the back of the group with all of the shit on my satchel and just carrying all of the luggage is me, Mikey, and I also played this game.
So where do we want to start with this
A notes
one?
app apology. Your sister is dead, and I wish I could take that pain away from you and protect you from the knowledge that you did what you did. But she's dead.
My characters died too. Yeah, go ahead.
Look, for people who just listened to all the play episodes, I'm curious to hear from you first, because this was a custom module. What the hell was going through your brain when you concocted this?
Me?
Yeah.
It didn't start as a multiverse thing. I'll tell you that right now. It started as, what I did was I just read through the entire Troika rulebook, and I found monsters and characters that were compelling to me. And then the Echo Dot and the Ven were really interesting. I liked the idea of the baddie being someone from the future siphoning energy. And then I was like, what are ways to siphon energy? And so I thought frustration and time. And I was like, you're stuck in a waiting room. You're going through these series of challenges, and the only way to finish it is to get at the source. And then at that point, since there's so much sphere stuff going on, I found it interesting to be like, well, let's have a little fun with this. Because I originally had just thought of a lot of the places that you might be waiting for, like waiting for a table at a restaurant or, waiting at the DMV. And then I saw where I could apply it to our previous arcs. So that's how she came to be. I've been watching a lot of Star Trek.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
How did you think we were going to get out of the waiting room?
Yeah, there were a couple ways that you could have gotten out of the waiting room. The way that you did, which is just rushing the door. I thought that was pretty likely. If you, yeah. So in my notes, I've got the clock. The clock starts on 107. There is a second hand. If you watch the clock, it moves normally. If your eyes go away from it for a few seconds, it only shows 2 seconds after you last looked at it. If you look away for longer than a minute, it shows that 1 second has passed. If a player dedicates themselves to watching the clock, they have to do so in game. Start a timer and stop it when they do something else or interject a joke. When they look back at the clock, that's how much time has passed. If a player watches the clock for a full 5 minutes, the number is called. So if one of you had been like, I'm watching the clock, I was setting a timer.
I feel like Anish did.
I did. And
Anish covered the clock. Anish was doing the opposite of watching the clock. Because I started doing it, and then I was like, wait, you have the clock covered, so you're just counting.
Fuck it.
Or it was... Yeah.
And if our number was called...
If your number's called, then your table is ready. You get put through one of the challenges. Each of the challenges had at the end some reason that was unfinished.
So, okay. So we could have finished it. So, So Tori's question wasn't like how he would have finished the whole thing. It was how he got out of the waiting room. Okay.
How to finish the whole thing, if that's a specific question. Yeah, the challenges, the exploring is more just to figure out more about the room, recognizing previous characters. Okay, this is something multiverse going on. How are we connected? You got the information pretty early on of the blue crystalline structure that was connecting all things and like brought the entire existence to life. But when you tried to kill it at the beginning, since it was the full structure, you were hurting yourself, especially with the cold. creature. Like there was no way to do that without also hurting yourselves, and y'all weren't at the point where you were like, let me fucking die.
Yep.
Yeah. So you could have killed it there and been done with it, but you would have also died. If you had asked the front desk lady specifically to talk to the manager, you would have gone to the manager's office.
Huh.
We weren't caring enough. We were not caring enough.
You also, every time you opened that back door, the testing your luck was to see if you just stumbled into the manager's office.
I want to know what each of the circumstances would have been. Like for the restaurant, kids on bikes, so we had the shadow.
Yeah. So the idea behind all of them was that there's something wrong with each of the worlds. Like it's not your presence that is the wrong thing. It is that the magic that the Ven was doing is corrupting the world in some way. So Shadow had gone berserk. Like there was something.
The beast.
Yeah, the beast that Lancelot slayed had gone berserk. There's something wrong. So that was the case. Time for your driving test. The driving test, I wanted to do a driving test, and then it was that I would assume that the goblins would get hurt in the driving test, which they were pretending to be a Cyclops. And that is what's wrong, is they should not be dying. The space trial was set up so that the idea was if you got that one, you would think it was going to be lasers and feelings. And then there's something just for us back home. And I don't know if y'all, Captain Luna, y'all, okay.
Yeah. I remember Captain
game.
Luna.
Yeah, that was a home game that we played. Yeah.
Because you were like a alien in Lasers and Feelings.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
And Sadie and our other home characters for that game were gonna burst through and try to break Captain Luna out.
Wow.
Because a family is a family, even if it's dysfunctional. The doctor's office was the Mudwater situation, and what was going to happen there is it was going to be a reversal, and instead of it being you in the doctor's office, you were going to have to provide medical care for this mouse.
What was the Mudwater again? I'm trying to remember.
Ground itself.
Okay, yeah. That's what I was like. Little is it ground itself? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the hummingbird scene.
Yeah.
Right.
The job interview was Jamais Vu. Honestly, that's the one that I had fleshed out the least, to be perfectly honest. It's like, what was going to be wrong there? I think that it was a situation where like the bad guys of that realm, the, what's the company called? We're going to come and get you. I knew that I did not need to flesh all of these out because in no realm did I think that you would go through all 6 of the challenges willingly. In no realm was I like, that's what's going to happen. They're going to be happy and wait till their number's called and go through all that. So I had you roll, and then I, like, in between sessions, I focused on the ones that I thought you would be hitting more.
Eyes on the prize?
Eyes on the prize. Eyes on the prize was
the fitting room.
The fitting room. And it was going to be cute. It was going to be, they were going to assume that one of you was getting married and it was going to be a wedding gown fitting. And then it was going to be like family drama around a wedding gown fitting. Cause I was thinking a lot about Say Yes to the Dress. And
Too bad we blew it up.
How nightmarish.
We didn't blow it up.
Too bad I blew it up.
Right.
We have a question
we were kissing the chefs.
Yeah, it would have been like, welcome to, well, I have to congratulate you on your nuptials coming soon. Like that was going to be my Violet voice. My voices are not, I am not very good at different voices. That's not a strength of mine, I would say.
But characterizations, you nailed them.
Thank you. I was like, I don't know how to do the different voices, but I'm trying to remember my best as to what people were like.
Yeah. No, you did a good job.
Those were all the rooms?
Yeah, there were 6.
Wow. Fantastic. I think it's just a great homage to all the other little indie RPGs we've played along the way. Those fun characters. And on the player side of it, I think I went a little crazy. Because just like a real waiting room, I think the hardest thing for me is to sit down and be still and do nothing.
I think I handled it all pretty well.
Oh, I think you did great.
One of the things, and I think this backfired on me, is I was like, they're going to hate being in the waiting room. Let me populate it with interesting characters to interact with and like things to do. But then I think that y'all were like, these are all tools.
These are all part of the puzzle.
They definitely could have been used as tools. But, like, these are all part of the puzzles when I was just like, they're going to kill me if it's an empty room. They're gonna kill me. Like, they're not gonna have. Yeah. What did y'all think about the system itself? Any thoughts, or have I just fucked you up?
Not at all. I think I can judge the system independently. Definitely the weirdest initiative system I've ever encountered in an RPG. And I think it makes for completely unpredictable circumstances, like insta dying. That one turn was fun, but I think combat wise, it was so completely unpredictable. And I think you, Emma, helped to make it a little bit more understandable. But once it's not like completely complicated, it's pretty straightforward. And while each class has its own completely unique skill sets and equipment, I think once you get past the surface, it's pretty easy to understand.
The fact you have to get the item required out of your bag too, like it just, I don't know, it feels like not hard moves necessarily, but they're not as lenient with some of the things that we take for granted when you're playing, where it's like, oh, can we just say that I did this a couple whatevers ago? It's like, nope, you gotta roll if you want to get your weapon out or whatever it is. Probably my favorite part of it was the test your luck. And actually, do they say what happens if your luck drops to 0? Or I guess 1 even?
You don't die or anything. It's just, it is impossible to successfully test your luck anymore. So like anytime you like, if a building's about to collapse on you, it just collapses on you. Like you can't test your luck on
If you roll a critical success, do you get luck back? That'd be kind of interesting because it's like, oh, you're lucky.
There's ways to get luck back. Like there's specifically, it's almost like healing.
But you can't get it back above your starting.
Yeah, it always goes back to
that
your
makes
starting.
Sense.
I was looking through some of the enemies, and it's fascinating. You know, you were talking about them being beefy, and I was looking at stuff like the dragon, and the dragon's skill is 16. So I'm like, I don't know how you roll above that, because I think the max R skill was like 7.
Yeah.
Or something. No like leveling up.
Yeah, and then like the dragon's stamina is 32. Like, damn.
Yeah, which I low-key think you're not supposed to kill a dragon.
No,
like,
yeah. For sure.
If you're killing a dragon, you're working with like a lot of tools and you've prepared to kill a dragon. Because the way that using items works, you could stack that shit.
Right.
Crazy. You know, like if you're really prepared, you can do almost anything. It's just like...
Because there's this other thing. Oh yeah, true. Because I had those plasmic cores that basically was able to just one shot. Because there's this loathsome worm that will consume the sun, and its stamina is 46, skill is 12, and it says if killed. So like it's supposed to be killed somehow.
It's supposed to be able to be killed. That is the module that I was interested in playing originally is centered around the lonesome worm. Like that's what I have gotten from looking at people's modules is. And what I think is fun about this base rulebook, when they say like you make the game by the gaps, is like you just pick one thing that you're like, that is interesting to me. Let's explore this. They gave me this little blurb. Let me make a world around it. And I think that's kind of fun.
Are you saying lonesome or loathsome?
Loathsome.
I feel like this game is meant to be played fast and loose. Yeah. For the life of me, I cannot envision what a long-term Troika campaign looks like. Because I think, how many of us changed characters?
You and me.
And I think, did you do it twice, Tori, or just once?
Home and then Whitaker.
I did it twice. Never revealed
you did
my final character.
Oh yeah, true. Because I killed you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I kind of, honestly, that was kind of fun.
I really enjoyed that.
I enjoyed Bridget's interactions with Lancelot because I was just so done with his shit.
Oh, and I loved provoking you. Just like
I was like, that was so fun, and it's like I don't know. There's something like just because it felt like it was going along with the story, just like berserking out and like just killing everything. It felt like a kind of a poetic way to end it rather than And I feel like I was trying. My original concept for Bridget was like to be a nice character who gets along with everybody and just really likes steak. But then I was just like, fuck this shit.
I don't.
What did he do?
Nothing. Lancelot.
He's just
Saved
being a
your life
patronizing
from the lion?
asshole.
Well, he
He
said
did
it's gonna
nothing
be
wrong.
okay. What else is he supposed to say?
That's exactly what he
nothing
said to the other person. So he doesn't actually care. He's just repeating.
I cared so much.
No, you didn't. Your queen is a fraud.
We have to go to family therapy again.
That was such a great. That was such a great episode of when we did the goblins, where we had to go to family therapy. That was so stupid.
Christ, that was in the depths of quarantine too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We were literally
not
delving into
okay.
the heart during quarantine. That shit was madness.
I feel like that this game brings a little bit of that out.
Yeah. I don't think we've played like this since then. Just like the insane, because I mean, the idea that like your characters are getting replaced and you don't really have that kind of, because I feel like with a lot of systems, it's like, oh, I don't want to die, so I'm going to be a little bit cautious. But with this, like, honestly, I was surprised that Bridget is the only character that like
Lived.
stayed for the entire thing, and like lived. But because at the end, I was like, honestly, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Easter egg that you didn't get was if you had looked at the magazines. There were some magazines that were just normal ones, and then there was also comic books, and the comic books were going to be masks. Yeah, so it would have been a little
Okay,
tip
cool.
off for like something weird is
cool.
going on here.
Cool.
Cute.
Tight.
Yeah, I agree, Anish. I think once we started playing a little more fast and loose, things finally started happening. It felt like we were in that waiting room forever. And then when you make peace with the idea that death is part of the game, and like the character descriptions for these roles are like a paragraph, they're not like a long, like D&D where you get this whole backstory, this and that. It's like to be made back when dreams were made and used and wasted or whatever. Like it really is part of it, and you have to just like accept that.
Yeah. Preconceptions of characters, you can have them, I suppose, but I feel like they're just so malleable in the way that you're filling in the gaps of what is given to you on paper. And there's I think the coolest thing about this game is the character creation. Like just the sheer randomness of it all. It made me want to keep dying so I could roll new characters.
I tried to tonally match to the waiting was a risk, and it
We were frustrated.
You were frustrated.
Yeah.
I knew you would be. But the tone as far as like deaths being like part of it, I tried to match. They have like an example module in the rule book that is a hotel. It's like you get to, and they're like, you can insert this anywhere within your campaign. It's like you get to a hotel, you get a key for the top floor, and then you can either take the elevator or the stairs. You can switch whichever you're taking at any point, like run down a hallway and start going up the stairs. But there's just like encounters at every turn. Like what will happen on the second floor? What will happen on the third floor? And they say there's a line that's like, what happens if a character dies? And it's like at the next floor, their new character is there and is now like with them, is now exploring with them. So that was the kind of vibe that I was like, y'all are bound by something, which was the ticket, and that's a very loose binding.
I also agree, Anish, like trying to imagine this as a long form campaign feels tricky for me, especially because you can't level up. So, and I don't know, it's like when we were just trying to talk and think our way through it, it felt like we weren't like making as much progress as when we just went like murder party.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of that was the actual module itself and how much of it is in the game.
Yeah.
Because like something I think one thing that really drove the type of stories we told were our skills. Like most of the skills on the characters that we rolled are like either some spells, which are really cool, by the way, probably one of my other favorite mechanics, or they're fighting stuff. Like other than that, like some language, but they're all really super specific. I think the only example of like a perceptive type skill was like either second sight, astrology, or that other one.
Evaluate.
Evaluate. Like without something tangible as a player, like I think you just are forced to move through the world and engage with it in a much more narratively directed way rather than like I roll to see what's happening. No, you gotta find it out, even if it was detached from this module. Like there's no persuasion, there's no any of that. Like all the social aspects of Troika, I think, are encouraged to just exist socially.
And what is that? It's like a cart horse, or what does Troika mean again?
It's a three horses drawn vehicle.
And it felt like we were dragging that vehicle.
Also, I'm looking through the rule book, and it's not like a level up system, but there's the advancement checks to get
better.
new spell. You get more spells, like you can get spells and advanced skills.
You can advance skills. You can learn entirely new skills. I think tonally, it really depends on like what you're doing. Like if you wanted to do a long form campaign, then the game master is just gonna switch up. Like, let's start small, whereas I was like, we're not doing a long campaign. We're doing a module. I'm throwing you in there. Because growing skills takes a lot of time. It takes weeks.
Oh.
So you have to be like, I'm going to go learn how to sword fight. My character is going to live with a swords master and learn how to sword fight for a week.
Wow, fascinating. A lot of the play style too is determined completely by chance, like your stamina and luck. Like, oh my god! And imagine getting stuck with like a character type that you don't want to play. Like
that you can't talk, and then you really love to yap.
I wonder what that's like.
Was I really not supposed to talk?
No, it was totally
okay.
fine that was the funniest. Well, that like. So let me tell you something. It was so funny. That was hilarious.
Yeah, the reveal under the chair was so. It was like,
up.
hey, buddy, I think I have a whole plan. Like,
I also feel like y'all were doing crazy shit. I was not necessarily taken aback by any of it. I was on board for all of it, especially in the waiting room. It was just like, these are incredible choices. You weren't wrecking my shit. I was just excited.
What stuff in particular?
Like just jumping over the desk and switching bodies was crazy. Using the ice thing to like infect the room was a huge like earth-shattering moment that gave you a lot of information as to how everything was connected. Because if Comb hadn't had that, what was it, True Sight, it would have been a normal waiting room. You wouldn't have known that from the beginning.
Whoa.
Were the piggies a reference to anything?
No.
The cops.
No. Yeah.
Wow. I think my favorite moment was when Siggy died and everybody was super sad. And we did gore of our cover characters.
Yeah, that was crazy. I was
surreal.
jumping. I was running around. I was like, "What the?"
Dead.
Fan fiction gone completely wrong.
If you had killed Mandy, I would have. I mean, I think that was partially why I was like, I gotta kill this guy. This guy's awful.
It was really exciting to me to remember that Mandy wasn't in the room yet. To think like, oh, Mandy has to enter the room and see Siggy dead. Delicious.
Devastating.
It's so interesting to think that somebody could listen to all of these Troika episodes without having previously listened to our other campaigns, which everything in this was a reference to our other episodes. So,
which
the RPG universe.
Yeah, the way that I thought about it too, in terms of like, should I share this with people? Is this a module that people could play? One, I think it's kind of a war crime. And two, like, I think it does require, I think if I were to do it, it was like, if you play with the same group a lot, this is a really fun way to like fuck with your friends.
When Siggy died, Lancelot, you had said something like, no worries. And I had been on the phone the other day on my customer service job, and they were upset. They were like, I can't figure out how to blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, no worries. Like, I can pull up. They go, oh, yes, worries. Your website is terrible. I was like, Thank you for that feedback. Like, let me clean the thing up.
Oh,
like,
yes,
what?
worries.
I was like, okay, my bad. And just the idea of the conflict is not a villain you're fighting, someone you're having to trick or scam. It's literally just patience and like being stuck somewhere. It also made me think of this other tangent. I saw a play, and at the end of it, they have this like Republican. It was all in Portuguese. So I was just reading the whatevers. It was insane. It was probably one of the best things I've ever seen. But they have this Republican going on a pretty bigoted speech. Minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It is so long. And at some point you realize they're wanting you to like, well, what are you going to do in the face of like this hateful rhetoric? Are you just going to sit and blah, blah, blah? And so people start booing. And when people first started booing, I was like, guys, he's an actor, like whatever. And then it's like 5 minutes, whatever. And I'm like, oh, they might be onto something. Like I think people started standing and leaving. And people are like booing. They're like, no, I'm telling you this, it had to be 15-page monologue at the least. Somebody goes, storm the stage. It was like, you first. Like, what are you talking about? Storm the stage. But the viewing experience was, I literally never had anything like it, where they're just like, I don't know. They like put you kind of on the spot. And it felt a little similar where it was like, well, what are you going to do? Like, if you're just left to your own devices and like waiting.
Wait, but what happened?
It was, I'm not kidding, had to be 10-minute long speech of like pretty hateful rhetoric. It was called Katerina and the Beauty of Killing Fascists, which I thought was like, I thought it was like maybe a Tumblr title where it was like, eat the rich. But it ended up being like, so whatever. I don't know. I can't, to describe it like really isn't going to do justice.
Well, I mean, like more like what happened after the speech. I was just curious.
The show ended. It was like that. And so they had like brought the lights up, which is also, I think, what clued people in. And it was kind of funny. Some guy was like, I think we're supposed to stand, mate. And it was like, I don't know. There was no like set thing they were waiting for people to do. And then some guy was like, shoot him and don't miss by an inch this time. And like nobody laughed. I was like, oh. And then he took it to Reddit. Was like
what?
Trying to get laughs there. He was like, yeah, I may or may not have legal reasons said that. Oh, you know, it was like, anyway, the fact that the conflict you're up against is patience and time was unlike something I feel like I had faced before in a role-playing game. And it definitely had me stumped. I definitely was like, this has to be an escape room and there's something I'm missing. Any other thoughts?
Chatting about the game itself, would y'all want to play it again to see like what a long-term campaign would look like? Because like
what a normal module would be.
Because like for me, it's like there's stuff about this game that was like really fun as like a first-time experience to be like, okay, this is what it's about. I'd be interested just on a service level to try it out again, but just the sheer chaos of this, I think lends itself well to like a really freaky, weird one shot. But I think if this is your type of shit, like this is your genre of choice, like if you are interested in the world of like Terry Pratchett, like all these kind of like interconnected universes, like weird shit, you should play Troika. And for me personally, I love momentary chaos. I would not play a long-term campaign of this.
You don't want to live in it.
I don't want to live in it because I played the most fast and loose I have ever played. And doing that long-term, I think would lead to interpersonal conflicts with my friends.
Yeah, I was ready to punch you.
It was hard too, because like you've got your out of game knowledge, and then you have like a new character who's just got here. And when they were like, Whitaker, will you die for the cause? And it's like, well, realistically, probably somebody wouldn't want to do that. But out of game, I'm like, I am at my wit's end. Literally at my wit's end. I don't know how else this resolves. So sure, you know. Y'all
were gonna kill the Ven, which you did end up doing. But I thought you were just going to kill him and destroy the Echodat.
I didn't realize he made that. I thought it was part of the whale.
Yeah, my original plan was just to kill the Vin because he was like, we only need one more sacrifice. And so I was like, oh, I guess you could be the sacrifice. But I was also like, I want to get home. So I want to do what you want me to do so I can get home first.
Yeah. He definitely didn't, or they definitely didn't make the Echo Dat. It was more like they were siphoning energy and corrupting it for a cause. But the Ven made the waiting room.
I love that you had the plasmic cores, Anish. That made that so fun. I mean, one, I think it was very poetic, like blowing everything up and just like leaving the past in the past type thing. I think was really fun. But it was just also like, talk about chaos. Like, what a chaotic way to end it.
It was awesome. My second favorite moment was when you killed Lancelot.
That was so funny. I was like, when I was like, I was
Poetic justice.
I was so glad it happened. When I was like, meets it, beats it, I was so happy that I killed Lancelot.
Emma asked, "Where are you standing?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Dude, I was like, it's like when you texted Jess during the campaign for Heart, and you're like, "Push me."
When I was like, I would be a great sacrifice.
Do it. Push me.
I had to take a second when the goblins died. That one hit a little too close to home, especially because it was like instant splat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And we just played them.
I think if it's like for this module, it's hard to get away with the surprise of the shared universes without, spoiling it. I think maybe we gotta be like, at the very least, some measure of like we are irreverent as a group and we are okay with whatever happens. This is an alternate universe. Because I, as a player, am totally fine fucking things up. But I understand if that's
see, the thing, I was like, okay, Comb's gone. Siggy's gone. But our goblins, our babies, like our first... So that one just took me a second.
Here's the thing. Here's where I am. We're just talking words.
It's all, none of it's
wow.
The goblins are still alive for me.
They're in here. La Fiesta never dies.
La Fiesta never dies.
But with those, with those plasma grenades that were found on Lancelot's body, it reminded me of when we played the Strahd campaign, and we are fighting for our lives against this insanely leveled up villain. And I think finally after the fighting's over, Anisha's like, oh, I had a scroll of mass healing. We were like, why are you telling us this now? At that point, don't even tell me. It would have been so useful. And it's funny because I was reminded of that again. We were like, well, check my dead body.
Yeah, you're like, check my dead body,
you
take my fun
throw that
things.
at the shadow mass, we couldn't have.
I do think they're not bombs. That was just funny. In terms of playing fast and loose, should that have worked? Not necessarily, but then it worked once, and then a precedent was set. And now that's
it worked once, it worked 6 times, it worked 7, 8 times.
I didn't realize there were 18 of them when I made that ruling.
I know, Tori, you were like, wait a second, how many do you have on the bandolier? And Anish goes, 18. I was like, holy shit. This is great. This is great. 3. Yeah, no.
Same. I was like, surely 6 is a reasonable number to have on a freaking cartridge or whatever.
Oh man, that was so fun. Oh, that was so fun. I honestly, I feel the same. The first episode, last time, when we were playing, I enjoyed it, but I was also like, I have no idea where this is gonna go. What is going on? And I was I was not sure how it all fit together. And then this episode, it was just the chaos. I thought was so fun in a lot of ways. Just when I stopped caring about my character,
And you're the only one who survived, so.
Yeah,
I survived and lived to grill another day.
We didn't Karen enough in the waiting room, and once you stopped Karen, then we succeeded.
Wow.
Get into that.
I think in my conception for it, it wasn't quite this chaotic, but I wasn't against it. In my conception for it, it was like, okay, someone's torturing them, and they'll realize that someone's torturing them, which you did, and they'll realize that this is interconnected and go for the source. I I did not conceive of the idea that, and I love that this is how it turned out, because it was in fact Ven's hope. Like, it was the Ven's hope that it would be so demoralizing that you would burn everything down, because that was the goal of the waiting room, was that like I can get them to destroy themselves.
We did.
That was I gotta say, that was a great revelation.
I beheaded a lion.
Like when you started saying, when I started blowing things up, because I was just doing that because I was like, I give up. But when you started saying, when you were describing the glow of the thing the Vin was looking at, responding to when I'm blowing these things up, that was like, I was like, holy shit. And then when I came in and he was like, you've done it, I was like, this is crazy. That was a great reveal. I really I think we've said it before, but like, Emma, I think you did a really good job with like setting all of the stuff together. And that was cool. Because I mean, we didn't get a lot of time with Jim, but I think that reveal was like a pretty interesting villain like moment thing. I don't know. I like that a lot.
I saw the Echo Dot glow.
Yeah.
I saw the money grow.
Did anyone get that Jim is supposed to be GM?
No.
Oh, no.
Oh.
That was a late thought that I had.
What's it called?
It's called Echo Dot or Echo Dot. It's
okay.
E. Echo Dot.
Wait,
Echo
that's
Dot.
why my thing glowed up earlier.
Oh. What?
I have a Alexa.
The device, yeah.
Oh. I was doing Charlie and no one.
Echo Dot. Ooh! Well, anything else? I don't think I would play this again. With love and respect.
The system or like a module like this?
I'm burned on it.
Tori, earlier when Emma initially asked, "Oh, would you play this again?" You were just sitting there. You're like the little move, the eye twitch. You're you cannot hide your feelings. It was so funny.
I have a question, and we can cut this out for sure. If a game like doesn't strike our fancy, do we want to include that in an episode of like our genuine opinions?
I think we should be honest.
It's not sponsored, yeah.
And Troika has an audience. I don't think we have to be worried. It's not like this is an indie game that we don't want to like hurt the sales for. Troika's doing fine.
In the future, if we play a smaller game and it like sucks balls,
more gentle.
I don't know. I just really don't know.
Real opinions behind Patreon.
I think you can also say your real opinions, but it's like we're not being cruel or anything.
I flamed the game manual a little.
You want to be cruel to this game, Anish?
I think too. There are things of. There's a booktuber that I really like who does this, where she'll be like, "This was a 1-star read for me. I hated it. I hated it for this reason, this reason, this reason. If you like things like this, or this, you'll probably like this book." Like, because everything is really subjective. Like, if it was frustrating how like transient it all was and like nothing lasted and it felt like it was all chaos, somebody's going to be like, absolutely, I love chaos. I love random XD,
Yep.
I'm like, I had fun with aspects of it. Like, I don't think it's bad. And I think for certain, like I like it. I liked parts of it.
I think we have to be honest. I created an incredibly frustrating module of this game system. So it might be me.
I was about to say it like not saying like it's you. I was about to say like the situation that it put us in. It's that whole thing of like, does a game have to be fun to be good? Like, is the job of a
it's a game.
No. It's the job of a game. Like, no. It's the job of a game to make you feel good, to make you have a good time. Because it's that whole thing of like, there's those games that like the point is to make you feel bad and like, uncomfortable. And that's like the goal they're trying to get across. And I feel like if that was your goal, like to make us like annoyed and angry, like it did that.
For me, there was a hope of catharsis in the annoyance. There was a hope of like, it will be really frustrating until it's not anymore. Cause then like you have the release at the end. And I think
that end. Yeah. Like when I was blowing, like I was genuinely super frustrated last time, but when I started blowing all this stuff up, I was having so much fun. But like, I definitely think I definitely think the catharsis, like, you know, when I just started not giving a shit and fighting with Lancelot, all of that stuff, I think that's when it became like really, really fun, because I was like peeling back the layers of, oh, these are references to all of our old games. I was like, that's super fun, Emma. And then, you know, just blowing all the shit up. And I was just like, fuck this. That, I don't know. I think it did have that catharsis from the initial frustration that you were trying to create that I liked.
As a kind of closing thought, and I don't know if anyone else has other closing thoughts, the pieces of media that very much inspired this were, there's an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation where they get stuck in a casino that is a chapter, or it's a book. It's like a book that it was constructed around this idea of the book, and they're reliving this day in a casino, and they have to get it right by the book to be able to leave. Like, they have to figure that out. So is that, oh gosh, there's another huge one that I'm missing. There's video games that Jess talks to me about where it's like, isn't there a video game?
The Fallen City, the Forgotten City.
I don't know. But it's like the beginning of the game is like, you wait here. And then
Far Cry.
Stanley
Far Cry.
Parable.
Of like, you wait here and I'll come back. And then if you wait there, you win the game.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Far Cry 4, where you like your friend gets killed, and then like the dictator is like, oh, wait right here, I'll be back with the food. And then if you wait, he's like, I'm so glad you waited. Let's go take this helicopter.
Isn't there another game where it's like there's a boss fight that if you wait 15 full minutes or something, you can skip it?
I know Metal Gear Solid 3.
It's Metal Gear. That's what Jess is talking about.
If you wait a week. Yeah, if you wait a week, the boss dies of old age.
Yeah. So
because he's like old as hell. Yeah.
And then specifically the They Might Be Giants song, 1:45, I think is what it is. Do you know that song?
Just such a funny sentence.
Listen, I listened to it as a child. It's on the They Might Be Giants for Kids one, and it fucked me up. It's this guy, and he's waiting for his date, and it's 4 minutes to 2. And then he's waiting, and he's waiting, and he's waiting, and she's not late yet because it's still 4 minutes to 2. And then he falls asleep, and he wakes up, and it's a futuristic world, and he's grown a long beard, and it's still 4 minutes to 2. And I remember listening to that as a child and being like, this is the most fucked up situation I can imagine being in. Love that.
Where was Abe?
We didn't want to gore.
Abe was, I think, abroad. Abe was back home. But mostly it was like I wanted to keep it with the people who were here.
Don't want to kill somebody's character and they're not even here to mourn them.
I don't want to kill somebody's character. And also, I talk to Fun more about these games, and I might know more than y'all do, and I don't feel comfortable playing her character the way that I do playing y'all's, because I feel like I know the same amount about all of y'all's, and then there's I might know some secrets that y'all don't know yet, and we're gonna bring the characters back, so I didn't want to.
Well, we can't.
It's not. There are
no. They're not dead. The only one who's dead is Siggy.
There's a lot of whales in the sea. There's a lot of.
Well, didn't I kill all the whales?
Well,
so how is it that
mad at me?
No. My question, one of the things I was curious about is how is Bridget like prime? Like how was I prime Bridget? Was it just I killed every other version of myself?
You killed so many, and you stayed alive, so you were.
I stayed alive, and now I'm just
the lonesome worm.
So we're supposed to roll for a new game or something, right? We're supposed to
Let's
figure out
do
what we're
it.
play next. I'm gonna roll. Let's see what we're playing next time. That's 1. Wander Home, baby.
Hey.
I'm excited. Is Wander Home world building?
It's a very collaborative game. And it can be GM-less or GM. We can talk about it, but yeah, it's a very cool game. I'm excited to play.
Well, thanks for listening. You have finally made it out of the waiting room.
We'll see you on another side of the whale.
We had a great time playing this game. Goodbye, everybody.
We'll see you on an entirely different table.
Yippee.
Just another one.